Hi there. Through the Bible in 1 year, we are on day 272. We're finishing the book of Nehemiah today. And there's just one day left, and we start the New Testament on Monday. Sounds exciting. Let's jump over there. Let's finish up Nehemiah. Okay, 3 chapters. Now, this is lots of names and persons and genealogies, and I love genealogy. No, I don't. Okay, kidding. Okay, 1. Who dwelled in Jerusalem after it was built? That's the titles, right? Oh, wait, this is Geneva. That will confuse us greatly. We're going to this one. Okay. Resettling Jerusalem. Here we go. Now the leaders of the people stayed in Jerusalem, and the rest of the people cast lots for 1 out of 10 to come and live in Jerusalem, the holy city, while the other 9 tenths remained in their towns. Sounds fair. The people praised all the men who volunteered to live in Jerusalem. These are the heads of the province who stayed in Jerusalem, but in the villages of Judah, each lived on his own property in their towns, the Israelites, priests, Levites, temple servants, descendants of Solomon's servants, while some of the descendants of Judah and Benjamin settled in Jerusalem. You know I'm not going to read these names, right? Okay, Judah's descendants. Attatiah, son of Uzziah, son of Zechariah, son of Amariah, son of Zedekiah, son of... Wow, look at this. Son of Malal, of Paris descendants, and Maaziah, son of this one, son of this one, this one. Descendants of the Shilonite. The total number of Perez's descendants who settled in Jerusalem was 468 capable men. These were Benjamin's descendants. Hold on. Salu, son of Mesullam, son of Joab, son of Perez, son of Kaliah, son of Mesa, son of Bedelphia, son of Bedelphia, Atum, Gabai, and Salai, 928. That's a lot, right? Joel, son of Zikri, was an officer over them, and Judah, son of Hasanu, was second in command over the city. The priest, okay, Judea, son of Joab, Jachin, say all these names, son of Zodak, and son of Mariah, of Attahab, chief officer of God's temple, and their relatives who did the work on the temple, 822. Adaiah, son of Jehoram, son of this one, son of Amos, son of Zechariah, son of Pedah, son of Mana. Can you imagine just being able to rattle off your up to your 5th or 6th grandparents? I can do it too. Okay, I know my grandpa was, but I don't know who his father was. Okay, son of Pashur and his relatives, 242. And Mashai, son of Azariel of Ahar, Masalimeth, Immer, and their relatives, capable of 128. Zabdiel, son of Hagdaloim, was their chief. The Levites. Shemaiah, son of Hasub, son of Azekanan, and son of Hajakoab, Bunni, and Shebath, and Zobad, the leaders of the Levites who supervised the work outside the house of God. Mattaniah, son of Micah, son of Zabdi, son of Asaph, the leader who began the thanksgiving and prayer. Man, choking here. Bakbukia, second son of his relatives, and Abad and Shaban and Gadbil and Judith, all the Levites in the holy city, 284. Okay, the gatekeepers. This whole thing is going to be this, isn't it? Akab, Talmud, and their relatives who guarded the gates, 172. The rest of Israel, the priests and Levites, were in all the villages of Judah, each on his own inherited property. The temple servants lived on Ophel. Zia, Gesha supervised the temple servants. The Levites and priests. Leader of the Levites in Jerusalem was Uzzi, son of Bani, son of Dunad, son of Mattaniah, son of Micah, and the descendants of Asaph, who were singers in the service of God's house. There was, in fact, a command of the king regarding them and an ordinance regulating the singers' daily tasks. Pethahiah, son of this person, and the descendants of Zerah, son of Judah, was the king's agent in every matter concerning the people. As for the farming settlements in their fields, some of Judah's descendants lived at Korath and Abba in its villages, Dibon in its villages, Zechar in its villages. Joshua son of Hazar, Beersheba and its villages, Ziklag, Mecca villages, or Emina, Zobana, Abadaru. I'm not reading these, okay? Their villages. In Lachish with its fields, and Ascad and its villages. So they settled from Beersheba to the valley of Hinnom. Benjamin's descendants from Geba, you can read all those descendants, right? Some of the valley of craftsmen, some of the Judean villages and Levites were Benjamin. Okay, 12. These are the priests and the Levites who went up to the Zerubbabel and son of the with Jerusalem. And these are all those people. Okay, I'm not going to read these. You can read those if you want. These are the leaders of the priests and their relatives relatives in the days of Joshua. Okay. The Levites, there's all their names. This person, he and his relatives were in charge of the praise songs. Beganumi and their relatives stood opposite them in the services. These people fathered this person, fathered. Okay. In the days of Joachim, the leaders of the priestly families were, and these are all their leaders, okay? I'm not going to read these, okay? I'm just not able to. Jonathan, I could say that one. Adna. Pitti, Shamua, Uzi, I can say that one. Kalea, Eber, Netanel. Okay. In the days of Eliashib, Jeddah, and the leaders of the families of the Levites and the priests were recorded in Darius Persian, while Darius the Persian ruled. Levi's descendants, the leaders of the families, were recorded in the book of historical records during the days of Johanan, son of Eliashib. The leaders of the Levites, Hishayah, Joshua, Kidabil, along with their relatives opposite them, gave praise and thanks division by division, as David and the man of God had prescribed. This included Matthiah, Bakuda, Abadiah, Meshullam, Talmud, Akub, were gatekeepers who guarded the storerooms and the gates. These served in the days of Joachim, son of Joshua, son of Tedadad, in the days of Jeremiah, the governor of Ezra, the priest and scribe. The dedication of the wall. Man. At the dedication of the wall of Jerusalem, they sent for Levites whenever they lived and brought them to Jerusalem to celebrate the joyous dedication and thanksgiving and singing, accompanied by cymbals, harps, and lyres. The singers gathered from the region around Jerusalem, from the village of the Netophath, right, those people, from Beth Gilgal and from the fields of there. For they had built villages for themselves around Jerusalem. After the priests and Levites had purified themselves, go away. They purified the people, the gates, and the wall. Then I brought the leaders of Judah up on top of the wall, and I appointed 2 large processions to give thanks. One went to the right of the wall, toward the dung gate. Hosea and the leaders to the left followed Judah, along with the dead and all these people. And some of the priests, sons and trumpets, Zachariah, son of son of this, wow, as well as all his relatives, with the musical instruments of David, the man of God. Ezra the scribe went in front of him at the fountain of the Galilee. They climbed the steps of the city of David on the accent of the wall and went above the house of David to the west, to the water gate on the west. Okay, let's do this all over again. The second Thanksgiving prison went to the left, and I followed it with half the people along the top of the wall, past the tower of the ovens to the broad wall, above the gate of Ephraim, by the old gate, the fish gate, the tower had now, and the tower of the 100 to the sheep gate. They stopped at the gate of the guard. The 2 Thanksgiving processions stood in the house of God, and so did I and half the officials accompanying me, as well as the priests. All these people, okay? I'm not reading them, sorry. Then the stranger sang with this person as the leader. On that day they offered great sacrifices and rejoiced because God had given them great joy. The women and children also celebrated, and Jerusalem's rejoicing was heard far away. Big party, huh? Support of the Levites' ministry. On that same day, were placed in charge of the rooms that housed the supplies, contributions, first fruits, and tents, the legally required portions for the priests and Levites, and gathered from the fields, because Judah was grateful to the priests and Levites who were serving. They performed the service of their God and the service of purification along with the singers and gatekeepers, as David and his son Solomon had prescribed. For long ago in the days David and Asaph, they were leaders of the singers of songs and praise and thanksgiving to God. So in the days of Zerubbabel and Nehemiah, all Israel contributed to the daily portions for the singers and gatekeepers. They also set aside daily portions for the Levites, and the Levites set aside daily portions for the descendants of Aaron. Yeah. Which we know Ezra was a descendant of Aaron. Okay, 13. Nehemiah's further reforms. At that time, the book of Moses was read publicly to the people. The command was found written in it that no Ammonite or Moabite should ever enter the assembly of God, because they did not meet the Israelites with food and water. Instead, they hired Balaam against them to curse them. But our God turned the curse to a blessing. When they heard the law, they separated all those of mixed descent from Israel. Now, before this, Eliashib, the priest, had been put in charge of the storerooms of the house of God. He was a relative of Tobiah and had prepared a large room for him where they had previously stored the grain offerings, frankincense, the articles, the tents, the grain, the new wine, the oil prescribed to the Levites, the singers, the gatekeepers, along with contributions of the priests. While all this was happening, I was not in Jerusalem because I had returned to King Artaxerxes of Babylon in the 32nd year of his reign. It was only later that I asked the king for a leave of absence so I could return to Jerusalem. Then I discovered the evil that Eliashib had done on behalf of Tobiah by providing him a room in the courts of God's house. I was greatly displeased and threw all of Tobiah's household possessions out of the room. I ordered that the rooms be purified and I had the articles of the house of God restored there, along with grain offering, frankincense. I also found that because the portions of the Levites had not been given, each of the Levites and the singers performing the service had gone back to his own field. Therefore I rebuked the official, saying, "Why has the house of God been neglected?" I gathered the Levites and singers together and stationed them at their posts. Then all Judah brought the tenth of the grain, new wine, and oil to the storehouses. I appointed as treasurers over the storehouses Shelemiah the priest, Zadok the scribe, Pedaiah the Levites, Hanan of Zachar, and Zebediah son of Matt to assist them, because they were considered trustworthy. They were responsible for the distribution to their colleagues. Remember me for this, my God, and don't erase the deeds of faithful love I have done for the house of my God and for its services. At that time I saw people in Judah treading wine presses on the Sabbath. They were also bringing in stores of grain and loading them on donkeys, along with wine, grapes, and figs. All kinds of goods were being brought to Jerusalem on the Sabbath day. So I warned them against selling food on that day. The Tyrians living there were importing fish and all kinds of merchandise and selling them on the Sabbath to the people of Judah in Jerusalem. I rebuked the nobles of Judah and said to them, "What is this evil you are doing, profaning the Sabbath day? Did your ancestors do the same, so that our God brought all his disaster on us and on this city, and now you're rekindling his anger against Israel by profaning the Sabbath?" When the shadows began to fall on the gates of Jerusalem just before the Sabbath, I gave orders that the gates be closed and not opened until after the Sabbath. I posted some of my men at the gates, so that no goods could enter during the Sabbath day. Once or twice the merchants of those who sell all kinds of goods camped outside Jerusalem, but I warned them, "Why are you camping in front of the wall? If you do it again, I'll use force against you." After that, they did not come again on the Sabbath. Then I instructed the Levites to purify themselves and guard the gates in order to keep the Sabbath day holy. Got that? Remember me for this also, my God, and look on me with compassion in keeping your abundant, faithful love. In those days I also saw Jews who had married women of Ashdod, Ammon, and Moab. Half of their children spoke the language of Ashdod, the language of one of the other peoples, but could not speak Hebrew. I rebuked them, cursed them, beat some of their men, and pulled out their hair. Wow. I forced them to take an oath before God and said, "You must not give your daughters in marriage to their sons, or take their daughters as wives for your sons or yourselves." Didn't King Solomon of Israel sin in matters like this? Yes, he did. There was not a king like him among many nations. He was loved by his God, and God made him king over all Israel. Yet foreign women drew him into sin. Why then should we hear about you doing all this terrible evil and acting unfaithfully against our God and marrying foreign women? Right. Even one of the sons of Jehoiada, son of Elisha, but the high priest, had become a son-in-law to Shalabat the Horonite, so I drove him away from me. Remember them, my God, for defiling the priesthood as well as the covenant of the priesthood and the Levites. So I purified them from everything foreign, assigned specific duty to each of the priests and Levites. I also arranged for the donation of wood at the appointed times for the first fruits. Remember me, my God, with favor. So, there you go. Oh, look, Psalm 126. They always throw something in here to Throw a wrench in the works, huh? Okay, let's read Psalm 126. Zion's restoration, song of accents. When the Lord restored the fortunes of Zion, we were like those who dream. Our mouths were filled with laughter then, and our tongues with shouts of joy. Then they said among the nations, the Lord has done great things for them. The Lord has done great things for us. We were joyful. Restore our fortunes, Lord, like watercourses in the Negev. Those who sow in tears will reap shouts of joy. The one who goes along weeping, carrying the bag of seed, will surely come back with shouts of joy, carrying his sheaves. Bringing in the sheaves. Right? So, there you go. That is the book of Nehemiah. And Psalm 126. And you know what? Tomorrow is the last book of the Old Testament, Malachi. And it's a wonderful book, okay? And we'll have some special things to talk about in this book. Okay? And then that's Sunday. The next day, September 30th, Luke, we're starting the New Testament on Monday. I'm looking forward to that. So there you go. That's the end of Nehemiah. Another psalm thrown in there. We're just about done. We have one small book left of the Old Testament, and then we have covered the entire Old Testament, January 1st to October 1st. It took a long time, but we did it every single day, and we got every single book in there in chronological order in the events that occurred. So it actually followed one historical timeline, which is interesting. I've never read it that way before, but it was cool. And I'm just going to trust that they didn't miss any books, okay? Because the way they're in the Bible, they're completely, not in this kind of order that is in a chronological order, in the way the events actually occurred. And the New Testament will be like that too, okay? We'll be reading it in chronological order, which is stored. So we won't read Matthew, then Mark, then Luke, then John, okay? They're going to mix everything up. So we may be reading Luke 1, and then we'll be reading Matthew 1, and then after that we'll read, Mark 1. And they're going to keep the story. And I'm looking forward to doing it this way because you can get the complete, all the witnesses' account of everything that happened as it happened. And that'll be really cool. I've always wanted to do that. But I'm looking forward to that. But catch up on any may have missed. You want to say you got the whole Bible in a year? And we're done with the Old Testament. Exciting. So there you go. Stay tuned tomorrow, and we will finish the Old Testament in the book of Malachi. All right.